Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. So far, the market's pretty flat and not really doing anything this morning, but Twitter shares are still skyrocketing. So there was a couple news articles that came out related to Twitter today. Basically, it was just showing how Elon plans to work with the Twitter CEO, and even how the Twitter CEO is pretty excited to work with Elon. So to me and to a lot of other people, it really sounds like there can be some serious changes happening at Twitter. So I thought that was pretty big news, and the stock market definitely likes it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty big too. Elon Musk took a 9.2% stake in Twitter, and he's actually going to be on the board of directors now. So that's going to be pretty big. I know that some people, Mike, have even been contemplating a possible hostile takeover eventually. I know that there's been some rumors of that maybe happening. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's definitely something to talk about whenever Elon gets on the board there, because who knows, if he could somehow influence other members or maybe get some other big investors in there. Who knows? Maybe he could do something, but that's great that he's talking with the CEO. And I know a lot of people have been hitting that new CEO, saying he's even worse than Jack Dorsey. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. But I really hope that, the freedom of speech stuff and everything like that ends up playing out. But yeah, Twitter's out doing great this morning, hit almost $55 today. And then we even have the other social media stocks like Facebook starting to really run up here at market open now.
Yeah, you know it. Facebook's looking pretty good. It's up 0.7% today. We're still under that 236 level, but hey, it's definitely looking good. Decent volumes flowing in too. And how's Pinterest looking? Because that's another social media stock. Let's see.
Pinterest. Let's see. PINS. They're actually, at open, they weren't doing the best, but I will say in pre-market, they were holding up very well. It just seems like at market open, Pinterest might have just tumbled over a little bit here, but keep in mind the tumble's not really that big, and honestly it's just kind of consolidating around that 2720 support. There has been a few bounces right there, so maybe Pinterest will start to get some renewed momentum, but as of right now it's not really doing much of anything. I wonder how Snapchat looks, and yeah, Snapchat's not really doing too much either, but Facebook is actually having a nice pop here. They're up to 236, and they're starting to really kind of break out. Maybe Twitter's going up as well. Yeah, Twitter's starting to just kind of tumble over too. So it's interesting to see Facebook kind of outperforming.
Yeah, that is interesting. Facebook's a pretty awesome stock in my opinion. It looks like they're definitely running up today. Even good volume right from open. So it's one of my longer term holdings, and I feel like it's been at a great level for weeks now. And ever since that gap down, it's been a pretty good buying opportunity in my opinion. And I just feel like they have even though they're very established, and some people argue that, Facebook isn't going to grow at the same rate it did in the future. It's yeah, obviously. But, they still have a lot more opportunity with, being a dominant player in the metaverse and everything they're doing with Oculus and all that stuff. So I'm not really worried about them.
Yeah, I'm not too worried either. I mean, I hope they really do end up recovering up in a big way. The only thing that does worry me is that they obviously, I remember Zuckerberg was doing those, he was testifying to the Senate and stuff like that. So that's the only stuff that does worry me, if maybe some type of weird regulations come out or something. But I don't see that happening. These companies are, it's the United States, we're pretty free on our leashes, we allow companies to do pretty much, whatever they want within obviously a certain reason. But, if these companies want to have some restrictions, I mean, it's not the end of the world. And let's be honest, Mike, people still use Facebook all the time. Even people who don't like Facebook are still using it. So that's what makes me kind of laugh. And, with the ad revenue, it'll never go away. Sure, it might take a hit here or there, but, it should start to get another uptick eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then when's their next earnings report? I feel like it's coming up there.
Yeah, it looks like it's on April 27th. So it looks like the end of this month, looks like almost 20 days away. So that's going to be pretty big here at the end of the month, Mike. And, I'm really hoping they come in with some better numbers, because during that last report, I remember the thing that really caught my eye with Facebook was their monthly active user numbers were down. So I'm really hoping that those numbers maybe taper off and maybe stay the same. I think that would be pretty good. But, obviously if they keep losing on those types of numbers, then the stock might take a hit. But I know they also took a big hit because of those privacy changes with Apple and Google. So who knows? Maybe they'll overcome those challenges and maybe they'll report some like an uptick in ad revenue or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and earnings season is creeping up, Tom. I know this week was like very dry, but it's like when it rains, it pours with the earnings season. Like I'm pretty sure like Apple, Google, and Facebook all report in the same week, or it's like three giant companies report like all within like the same like 3 day window, and it's always like a frenzy. But yeah, normally it brings in a lot of volatility, so that's good. We have Michael saying, "Morning, guys. What do you guys think if DWAC long and short it's getting crushed?" All right, so he said, "What do you guys think if DWAC long and short?" So I'm not 100% sure what you're asking. If you're asking about, okay, I think he's asking about it for like the short term and the long term. It's not a play for me. It's not at a bad level. It's just I can't. I just can't buy into it at this point. Their release was a total flop. It can have potential in the future, but I'm just not going to take the risk with it right now. Short term, it does look pretty bad, and I wouldn't be surprised if we retested like 40 at some point over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I could really see this one starting to tumble off, Mike, because, this one had a lot of hype, obviously, when it first started. And over the past few months heading into this launch, you can see DWAC stock was really on a nice uptrend. The stock was at lows of, after that IPO, the stock was at lows of like $40. And we started really moving back up towards 100. Like that was a pretty nice move out of DWAC. Now we're flying back off to the downside. We had some bad news come out about 2 executives leaving the company, actually. So that's bad news. But then on top of that, we've seen Trump even get angry at this company because obviously the rollout has been so bad that Trump's reportedly even been angry with them. And they had those 2 executives leave. So I think it's just getting worse and worse for DWAC, Mike. And it's almost like a snowball effect at this point. And I have a feeling a lot of the people who were really praising DWAC in the beginning might be starting to sell out of their shares now because this is starting to get pretty explosive to the downside. I know the candles look green here on the daily chart, but if we go into an intraday chart, I mean, the downwards movement's pretty drastic, Mike. So I could see this one eventually hitting $40 too. And I'll be honest, I was hoping DWAC or Truth Social would have a better launch, but whenever you botch it that bad, I mean, you have to expect some type of downturn.
Yeah. Yep, it's been rough. Looking at my watch list, Tom, it's about like 50-50 red and green. Actually, no, it's definitely more red than green today. It looks like some of these China stocks are pulling back too. Like Alibaba's down almost 4%. Quad, Baidu, stuff like that. DraftKings is in the red. Square's pulling back. Palantir. So yeah, it looks like there's a decent amount of profit taking so far today.
Yeah, there really is. Let's see. Some of these like stocks that were moving like a couple days ago, like AMC, I wonder how they're doing today. And it looks like AMC is actually doing decent, Mike. It's kind of consolidating. It's up 2%. But unfortunately, a lot of these bigger tech stocks are starting to turn back over. I know yesterday we saw a little bit of an uptick out of these stocks like AMD and Nvidia. It looks like today, like AMD is falling right back below that 110 support, which is not good. Looks like Nvidia also just fell below 272. So we have AMD and Nvidia starting to pull back in a pretty good way today. I wonder if they'll get towards that like opening price of yesterday, like in Nvidia's case, around like 267.50. That would definitely make for a pretty crazy move here. But yeah, I mean, these big tech stocks are starting to really turn over, and even the QQQ itself is starting to pull back a little bit.
How is Tesla looking?
Hopefully this one's doing good because Twitter was up for a while in pre-market, but it's holding its ground quite well, Mike. I know Tesla, it kind of consolidated this morning right around 1135, which is a pretty good support there. So it's consolidating in a good way and starting to move back up. If we break that high of yesterday around 1150, who knows? Tesla might start to run again, Mike, because look at it on the 1-year daily chart. We've pretty much been straight up here ever since like March 15th. So Tesla's had some amazing moves, and it just continues to show its strength here.
Yeah. Alrighty. And then we have Jerry saying, what can we expect from the Fed today? So looking at the calendar, it's just like a couple like small speeches. Normally these don't move the markets, but of course sometimes there are exceptions. But oh, look at perfect. Tom got it pulled up. So there's just a couple speeches today, nothing too important. Tomorrow's the big day with the FOMC minutes. We can see right where Tom is highlighting. Really, like I said, it's just going to be a recap of what the leaders of the Fed were thinking in their previous meeting. So it's really just going to be a lot of what we already know. The only difference is we can see the tone of how these leaders are thinking. Like if they're very hawkish, obviously that would lead us to think that interest rates would be, I guess you could say, more likely to rise in the future. But if they're like, maybe we're hiking rates a little bit too fast, I think we should, ease our policy more, then you would think that the market would take that in a bullish way. So really, it's just going to be a lot of information we already know. It's just going to be more about not the language, but like how these Fed leaders said what they said.
Yeah, it's a little bit more in depth than like whenever Powell speaks, right? Like it kind of shows a little bit more of like what like the overall group was thinking, I guess, more of. But obviously Powell does a pretty good job, giving his summaries. But I will say that it seems like the minutes you get a little bit more information out of it. And I remember one time, Mike. Now keep in mind it was only once, so like don't hold me on this one. But whenever Powell spoke one time, I remember then the minutes came out. And it didn't really contradict what he said, but he was a little bit more at the time dovish, and then the minutes showed that the overall Fed was a little bit more hawkish. So the market went a little bit crazy whenever that one happened. I can't remember; it was a few meetings ago, but I know that obviously you get a little bit more of an in-depth view.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it'll just give us more clarity is the main thing, and it's just basically a recap. So keep that in mind. Then we have Keisha saying JMIA moved yesterday. JMIA. Yeah, it actually had an awesome day, and it had a lot of volume too, so that's good.
Yeah, JMIA has been a pretty crazy one lately. It's one of those growth stocks that it really ran up yesterday, so I hope it starts doing good. And I remember this one was like the Amazon of Africa, so hopefully it starts popping back. And honestly, this recovery looks pretty good from this support around like $6 or $7. It doesn't look too bad actually, and that was a lot of volume yesterday, Mike. You're definitely right. Like I wonder, was there like some big news or something with JMIA? Because that was actually a pretty big move.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it on Thinkorswim, but my live news tab is being very weird. Like I can't even load any live news.
Huh. Yeah, mine seems like it's working fine today, but I don't see anything big. So I guess it's just kind of moving up. But keep in mind, it is one of those stocks, like I said, like the Amazon of Africa. So there could always be something maybe affecting it that maybe we don't know. But I will say this recovery looks pretty good on the daily chart, Mike. And even if I go intraday, I mean, it's definitely turning back over today. But overall, that move from yesterday was pretty explosive.
Yeah, it looks like they partnered with UPS. That looks like it.
With the UPS, like the big UPS?
Yeah, the big one.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. I mean, I can't believe they partnered with them. I wonder, when did that come out? That was pretty insane. Yesterday?
Yeah, so now the live news finally loaded, and it says Jumia Technologies soars with strong trading volume after unveiling partnership with United Parcel Service. And then there's even like another one at the bottom that said basically the same thing. But yeah, it said it would make its last mile logistics capabilities available to UPS. So
yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, that's big. Obviously they should UPS will be pretty helpful in getting them like deliveries and stuff like that. So that's pretty good news, I think, for JMIA. So I like that, Mike. I'm still not sure, if I'm a long-term holder yet of JMIA right here or not. I do like it for maybe some options, but I'm just not sure about it long-term for shares. I will say though, I like the price on it. It's at a good discount. I'll just have to do a bit of a more of like an in-depth guide or an in-depth look into this one, because like I said, it's like the Amazon of Africa. So there's probably a lot of factors at play here.
Sounds good. And then we have Sean saying, good morning. CLF breaking out. Let's see. CLF. Let's see. How's it looking, Tom?
It's doing great. It's up 4.6%. It's breaking above those highs of like last week, which is awesome. So it's starting to really have a nice move there. You know, it started consolidating last week a lot, right around $33. And this morning, we just had a nice explosive push right up through there. So I know that these commodity plays today are great. Like CLF is running. We have Oxy on fire again. It's up another 2.4%. Looks like Chevron is doing great. CVX is up another 2%. So yeah, overall, we're having a nice move out of these oil plays again. And it looks like crude oil is coming back to the upside this morning. Let's see. So Slash CL overnight hit like $105, and we've just been consolidating there. So looks like oil is definitely back on the run. So who knows? You know, maybe we'll see some more crazy news out of Russia or something today.
True that. Yeah, okay, perfect. Oil, and then I also saw that like gold and silver were creeping up there too. So it looks like the commodities are just shifting a little bit higher.
Yeah, you know, GLD's been a pretty good one on my radar lately. They've been consolidating a lot around $180. I'm going to look at them on the 180-day, 1-hour chart here because, like, look at this consolidation. You know, they ran all the way up at the beginning of March up to 193. I remember GLD was going crazy for a few days there with all that Russia news, and then it kind of tapered off and just started consolidating a lot. But I will say the way that we're starting to move back up here is pretty good in my opinion. You know, like if we start to go back on the uptrend and maybe pop back above like 183 or something like that, I think we could see a pretty nice move back. So I'm definitely glad to see it moving up, Mike. And who knows, maybe we'll see a nice like multi-day continuation out of gold and silver, especially with how much they've been consolidating here.
Yep. All right, and we have Keisha saying Walmart has been on a rip tear, and then Alex just said value seems to be good again this morning. Could you take a look at Walmart and a couple other ones? But yeah, Walmart's definitely powering up. The value stocks have been relatively strong lately, so that's awesome. Tom, looking at Walmart, what are you thinking?
You know, it's actually making a new all-time high, or I should say it did yesterday. So with this move up today, we're approaching that all-time high up there around 153.20. You can see I should say we're approaching the all-time high around 153.66. It's getting really close there. So we'll have to see if we can get that breakout. But I will say, like, this resistance up there around 153, like 20, 153.50, right there around that all-time high is going to be big. So definitely eye it up for a break of that. If we do see that break, then who knows, Walmart might start running. And I know we talked about this one a lot yesterday, Mike, because it had retested up here around like 153, like 1, 2, 3, 4. This is like the 5th time that Walmart's going to retest this. So maybe we will finally see a nice breakout because Walmart has just been consolidating for almost a year and a half now.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's a good point actually, because yeah, like you said, it's just been at like the same level for a while. So maybe we do get a breakout, you know, especially with inflation running a lot higher and all that. So good stuff there. You know, you can't really go wrong with Walmart, especially like for the long term. Like if you're trying to day trade Walmart, then yeah, of course you can go wrong with it. But long term, it's been pretty good. Alex also mentioned KHC, Tom. I know you like that one.
Yeah, Kraft's running up today. It actually broke above $40, and I was happy to see it because Kraft's been having some issues lately getting above 40. So I'm glad to see him finally breaking out. I know like a couple months ago, Kraft they broke above 40 for a very slight time. A couple times they tried to run up like to 40.87 and another time like around 40.50. So hopefully we see that nice breakout with Kraft. I really like the daily setup with this one, Mike. Like it's been consolidating a lot down here around $34 to $36, and we're starting to get a pretty nice breakout move here. So hopefully Kraft continues up. I really feel like that, like with inflation and just consumer pricing going up, I feel like that Kraft will do a little bit better along with some of these other like supermarket companies. Maybe you could say like Kroger, like KR. I really like the setup with these guys, and they've honestly been killing it. So KR, Walmart, Target, I really like a lot of these plays here with the inflation, but I will say I like some better than others, and Kraft is obviously one of my longer term favorites. The good thing is Kraft also pays a little bit of a dividend, which is good.
There we go. All right, and then Alex mentioned Chegg, CHGG. So this one's on my watch list, but I haven't looked at it in a little bit. I remember it just got absolutely destroyed back in, I think it was late October of last year, and I don't know, it's not really for me. Like, it can be decent, but I would have to do like a complete deep dive into their fundamentals before I make a decision with this one.
Yeah, this one's really tough actually. I mean, wow, the way they gap down is scary, but I can't hit them too hard for their gap because we've seen things like Facebook and everything else seems like it's been moving like this lately too. So I'm not going to hit them too hard, but I will say that's definitely not good to see. Like you said, we'll have to do a deep dive on it. If you like it for the long term, it's definitely at a good level right now, but I'm not sure if this one's a good buying opportunity here, Mike. Like, I feel like we've seen a lot of stocks go down, but this one just seems like it's in like a little bit of a different setup here. Definitely seems crazy, but I will say the good news is, Mike, it looks like they're profitable. Their EPS is coming in at some positive numbers, and like you said, we'll have to do a deeper dive on like those revenue numbers and maybe even like see like how these earnings reports have been going because it looks like they took their big tumble there on that one bad earnings report. So we'll have to like read into that one.
Yeah, that's true. And what's interesting is like their revenue has been growing rapidly and very consistently over the years, which is good, like especially since like 2017. But what's also interesting is like they're cash flow positive, so I think we definitely have to look into this one. I'm trying to remember the catalyst that made them fall. Like I could have thought it was something with like they expected to like sell less of their products because like less students would be online learning or something like that. Like I'm pretty sure it was something along the lines of because students were going back to school, they expected like for the company to grow less rapidly. I'm pretty sure it was something like that.
Yeah, it was. It looks like here. I actually have an article from Yahoo Finance, I believe here, and yeah, you can see. So pretty much they reported that Chegg stock crashes amid an enrollment drop. So it definitely sounds like something like that, Mike. It was something with some students leaving, and you can kind of see the chart here. How bad their stock dropped after that earnings report. So, but yeah, that was definitely not good, Mike. And if you anytime you have like an enrollment drop or like you lose any users, kind of like in Facebook's case, like their monthly users kind of went down slightly. So that's kind of like what I think obviously made them drop. And it looks like the undergraduate enrollment continued to decline by like 3.2%. So definitely not good there. But I will say like a lot of stocks have had some issues lately, kind of like Chegg. Like Zoom's been falling a lot, other stocks like that. So I'm not going to hit Chegg too hard because again, they're in that growth sector and they did have some unfortunate stuff happen. So I will say, I mean, if you like it for the long term, it might be a decent buy down here, but I'm just not sure, Mike. It's not one for me personally, but I don't know. It seems like if they lost a lot of users, that's definitely not good to hear.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and it looks like we have Lewis saying, "What do you guys think about Groupon?" So, Tom, I'm just gonna overlay on the Zoom really quickly because I just want to show something on my end. So. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to pull something up on the stream right now. This just shows Groupon basically. I cannot invest in this company unless they had some serious changes. Like in 2015, their annual revenue was like $3.1 billion. In 2019, it went to like $2.2 billion. In 2021, it went to $967 million. On top of that, their cash flow went negative. And it just seems like a disaster, like that's a giant revenue decrease. In 2015, you go from 3.1 billion to 2021 of 967 million. That's rough.
Yeah, that is actually pretty bad, Mike. And I'll tell you what, their stock is just looking terrible as well. Like ever since 2015, 2014, what does this stock do? It's went straight down pretty much. Like in 2014, this stock peaked at $250 a share. We are now sitting at $20.60 a share. So that really shows how much they dropped off. And Mike, I will say, I remember back whenever I was in like middle school and high school and stuff like that, Groupon was huge. Like everybody and their parents and stuff was getting Groupon and getting all these deals and stuff. And then their popularity just like fell off the table. So I'm right. I'm with you, Mike. That was nice with those fundamentals there because that revenue really fell off. So I don't think I'd get this one either. Obviously, there's a lot of other growth plays out there where we're seeing revenue really actually grow. So I just don't think Groupon's a good one. And obviously, like I said, there's other stocks at better levels even. Like if we look at like Zoom or like DraftKings or anything like that, I just feel like there's so much more potential. Even stuff like Square, Palantir, I mean, you name it. I'd almost rather have that than something that's whose revenue is crashing that hard. Because Mike, that chart was telling.
Yeah, like that's a problem, and like anything can happen, like right now Groupon's at $20.50, and sure, I mean there's a chance that Groupon can be at $40 by the end of the year, but like, is it worth the risk? You know what I mean? And like, it's also like opportunity cost, it's like you can buy into Groupon at $20.50 when they continue to have worse revenue year by year by year, or you could scoop up Zoom at 120 or Palantir at, what's it at right now, like $14.60. So it's like a lot of it also comes down to opportunity cost. Like even if you didn't want to get one of the growth stocks, you could be like, all right, I can buy Groupon at $20.50, or I can buy like Walmart at what is it at right now, like 140, something like that. So it's definitely not a play for me. Anything can happen, but it's looking pretty rough.
Yeah, and like, when it comes down to it, a lot of it just comes down to like risk factors and stuff. Like if you're gonna hold a stock like Groupon, it's gonna be pretty risky. Their revenue's been going down and the stock has also been falling, which is pretty telling too. Like if the revenue went down and the stock somehow held up, like let's say it somehow held its ground and there was still a whole bunch of hype behind it, like maybe they still had some big announcements or something, then it might make even a little bit more sense. But with everything that we're seeing, I just don't think it's a good trade, and I think it'll be a bad longer term investment. Like Mike said though, anything could change, but I know Groupon was one of those apps, Mike, where you get on there and companies would have like special deals and stuff like that going. And I've been seeing lately where what ended up happening is the companies just ended up making their own apps and then offering the deals themselves. So then they don't even have to pay Groupon any money or anything like that. Because I know that was a big thing with Groupon, was all those companies were getting on there to try to gain exposure. But obviously now the apps just kind of went downhill. And you know what? I wish we had a chart, Mike, to see the Groupon like downloads on the iOS App Store, because I would bet you that those download numbers are also way down.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so, and like another thing too, Tom, is, as you said, like Groupon's very risky, but it's like, if I'm talking about myself, it's like, all right, if I'm going to take a big risk, I at least want to have like a really nice reward potential, Like,
Yeah.
If I'm going to take a big risk, I want to invest into a company that, even if it's not in the best financial position, like, at least like it has to be like in like a really hot industry, or like it has to be working on some revolutionary technology, or just like it just has to like have something that really entices me to take that risk. But Groupon, it doesn't, it's like, yeah. So shout out Lewis for bringing up Groupon. We had a lot of great discussions with that one.
Yeah, that was cool. That longer term chart was telling, especially with those revenue numbers. And like we've been saying, Mike, those numbers, like those fundamental numbers, they make a bigger difference than people expect. And I will say, obviously for a growth stock like Tesla, they could be in the negative for a while and still grow, of course. Yes, but that's like a one-off scenario. And of course, like you said, they were coming out with like revolutionary technology and stuff like that. So it was a little bit different than Groupon. But yeah, I definitely feel you there. And those fundamentals are a big deal. So definitely keep those on the radar, guys, because obviously we've been working on that dashboard a lot. And Mike, that dashboard was looking pretty good you had up there on the screen. It's been coming along quite well.
Yeah, you know it. I'm gonna have a video probably today, Tom. It's gonna be today's intraday video that showcases the dashboard a lot more in depth. So it's gonna be like the first time I cover it on YouTube, so it's gonna be pretty awesome.
Nice, there we go. Yeah, because it's been great. I know I've been using it in the background myself because I've had access to it, and we've been kind of hinting at it coming out here pretty soon. So I'm glad to see us getting the ball rolling there. And it's going to be great because we have a lot of stocks at great levels, like Facebook down here. We have Twitter back on the uptrend with Musk getting on the board. So that'll be a nice one to look at the longer term numbers for. Even like DraftKings, it's always good to look at. So yeah, it's going to be big because a lot of stocks are at good longer term levels here, and who knows, that dashboard might help you differentiate between maybe some like obviously some riskier growth plays, and who knows, you might find something like Zoom that has good revenue and good numbers, and who knows, you might take a stab at this one.
Here we go. All right, and then we have Jerry saying, Mike, you mentioned Walmart. How's the chart looking for the short term? So this is probably like I don't want to say controversial, but this is just how I'm feeling with Walmart. Like, yes, it has a lot of hype with it right now, and it's moving up in a big way. For example, Walmart's up 1.15% today, which is a pretty decent move for a value stock, but even if we ignore that, over the past like 7 trading days, Walmart went from like 143 or like 143.30 all the way up to like 152.75. That's a big move for a company like Walmart. If it was Tesla or Apple or AMD, it would be different. But Walmart, that's a big move. The IV is only at 22%. So Walmart, it's a safe company. You can't really go wrong with them for the long term. But as you asked for the short term, for me personally, it's at a point where it had such a large move up where I would not take a new long position now for like a couple day hold. If there was a great opportunity intraday, I would take it. But at this point, I wouldn't hold it for a couple days because of the move it already had and because of how historically speaking, it's very rare to see moves like this. And even if we look back throughout history, like Tom, I feel like every time Walmart had a giant move to the upside over like multiple weeks or even like a month or two, it almost pulled back like every single time. So that's just my opinion. I'm sure everyone else has their own opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel you there. Walmart, every time we get up towards this like 152 to 153 resistance, it's just hit this level and tanked right off to the downside. Obviously, like back in August, it consolidated a little bit there before falling off. But generally, like whenever we went up to this, we've ended up falling right back to the downside. So at this point, I mean, this is like the 4th test of this upper resistance. So it's going to be tough. Like I'm sure a lot of people are looking at this and they're like waiting for a nice breakout. And, if you see it, then it might be a good play, especially if it breaks the all-time high. Then I think it might be pretty good. But, keep in mind, like Mike said, it would only be good maybe for like a quick intraday play or something like that. I definitely wouldn't hold this one either because at some point here, you're going to see it turn over. And even if we do break the all-time high, who knows, over the next couple days after that, we might be right back down to like 145 or like that 150 support again. So there's going to be lots of levels here with Walmart. And like Mike said, this uptrend has been insane. I know, Mike, you said pretty much we've been straight up from 142 up to 153, but even if we go lower than that, it was like 130, like up to there. Like that's pretty insane to see how Walmart's been channeling between like 135 and like 152. It just had so many bounces multiple times off these levels. And if we're gonna trust the historic moves here, historically we've been touching 152 and falling back. So that's what I would bet on this time. And I'm not gonna play it to the downside, but it's probably just a no play for me until we see that all-time high break.
Yeah. So we'll see. Either way, it's moving in a big way, and these types of moves are normally good for day trades. And then Ant just mentioned KO right now and how it hit new 52-week highs. So it's pretty big. It's always good to see these value stocks running up.
Yeah, it is. Look at KO. It had that big dip down. I remember, Mike, for a couple days, KO was tumbling over, and I was getting pretty worried about it at the beginning of this month, but we roared right back up. Now we're at new highs right there. So, or new yearly highs, I should say. So that's great to see. And I know KO is a powerhouse, so it's continuing to show its strength here. I wonder how some of the others like McDonald's are looking, and yeah, they're actually looking pretty good. Let's see Caterpillar. Caterpillar's not really doing too much today, but yeah, I mean, I know value stocks are always slow, Mike, and I'm trying to find some other ones that might be like moving up today in a good way. I'm not sure you'd classify JP Morgan as a value stock or not, but I will say I do notice that the banks are back in the green today in a good way, but they're not explosive or anything. They're just up very slightly.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I mean, it looks like DraftKings is kind of like going back and forth with red and green. That one's not looking too bad. Tesla's doing the same thing. Run. Yeah, I mean, not bad.
Oh, look at this, Mike.
Let's see.
Carnival Cruise Lines is having a morning. I actually kind of didn't see this one today, but they're up 8.2%. Is there something like going on with these? Let's go see. Let's see. There is actually a nice Thinkorswim news article here. Shows why they're rising here, but man, I can't figure out why they're moving up this much. Let's see. It looks like they're moving up Tuesday morning after the company announced last week was their busiest booking week in history. That is pretty big, Mike. So that was the busiest week for bookings in Carnival Cruise Lines history. That sounds pretty telling to me. I mean, I can't believe I'm reading that. Am I reading that wrong? Like,
am I reading that wrong? Wow. Yeah, that is pretty good. Huh. Yeah, I mean,
that's big. It looks like even like RCL has ended up moving and NCLH from it too.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, because I saw RCL on my watch list, and that one's up 3.5%. But just like you said, CCL is definitely leading the way. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. How are these cruise lines looking on like a daily chart?
I know that they weren't looking the best for a while, but they're starting to recover up in a major way now. The thing is, if we go to a max daily chart, then it starts not looking quite as good. But if you just go to a 1-year daily chart, like over the past year, it looks decent. It's in the middle of its range of the past 12 months, which is decent. The lower end of the range is somewhere around $65 to $70. The upper end of the range is somewhere around like 95 to 100. So we're like right in the middle right now. It's definitely recovering up though. I will say, in RCL's case, they were down. They had that low of 61.45, but now they're all the way back up to 86.18 within just about a month. So that's some pretty good movement there. And I'll tell you what, that's pretty telling to have the most bookings in history at this time. Because, what have we been seeing happen this year, Mike? Like, I feel like we're finally reopening. COVID's finally going away. In my state, at least, there's no more mask mandates or anything like that. So it's definitely cool to kind of see the world kind of getting back to normal here.
Yeah, there we go. All right. And Tom, what are some of your favorite setups for today?
All right, yeah, so yesterday I was eyeing up a few plays to the upside, and it looks like today a lot of them are starting to move back down, like a lot of these metaverse plays like Roblox, Unity, stocks like that. Like Unity hit right off this 110 resistance today, and it's starting to tumble back. So, I was really hoping for a nice continuation out of some of these plays, but it looks like we might have to wait till tomorrow at this point. They are definitely starting to turn back over here. I was also kind of looking for a nice move out of stocks like AMD and NVIDIA, but they're also starting to turn back over. If AMD breaks below like this low of 106 here, I'll definitely be eyeing up another move with puts, but that probably won't happen today. That'll make for a huge move if that did happen. But today, Mike, I mean, the best things I'm seeing moving are the value plays. And then obviously these defense stocks are still on the uptrend. So I'm looking at like Lockheed Martin here. They had a pretty nice opening this morning, popped right back up. Looks like NOC is also coming back. So, we're seeing oil go up today along with these defense plays. So seems like the stocks that were moving with the Russia news are starting to like get a little hot again, kind of like these defense plays and just like the value plays. Like I remember the value plays were kind of just the only stocks green whenever Russia first started doing a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, true that. All right, and then we have Lou saying Tilray going green finally. Any thoughts for the earnings? So I still have like a small position on this one. I got in a little bit early and I sold a little bit last week. I sold half, which was really nice. I'm hoping for the best with earnings, but like when you combine marijuana stocks and earnings, it's like the ultimate gamble. So for that reason, like I'm not expecting anything, but I still have a small position and I'd like it to go up.
Yeah, who knows? You know what we really need, Mike? We need Elon to come out and get on Twitter and say he wants marijuana legalized or something. That would definitely help us. Man, anytime he does anything, it seems like he like definitely makes the stocks move in a big way. Even crypto when he talks about him. Remember whenever he went on Saturday Night Live and then Doge like started going crazy and then tanked right after? But like, man, he brings in so much volatility. I hope he eventually says something because that was crazy how he was like on Joe Rogan's podcast, like smoking. I thought that was something else, Mike. You know, like I think that was like that might go down in the history books in 20 years. Who knows?
Oh gosh. And then we have Sun saying, when will Disney invest into building Disney Planet on Mars? I don't know about that one.
100 years from now.
Oh God, yeah, with Elon, right, Tom?
Yeah, with Elon. Who knows? Maybe Elon will even have like some type of like hypersonic spaceship at that point. Like it'll be quick, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Zero gravity roller coasters sound pretty fun.
Yeah, right. Alrighty. So yeah, Tom, I think we covered like a lot of major things. I mean, I'm seeing Apple break down right now. It just broke right through that 177 support, and it's definitely fallen in a pretty tough way.
It is actually. I'll tell you, that's a pretty good move out of Apple this morning to the downside. So I wonder how far we're going to see Apple fall, because yesterday at market open, Apple opened close to like 174.50 and just straight up exploded. So I'm wondering like how low it's going to go. Seems like there is some support coming up around like 176. After that, I see another one at 175 and then 174. So I know there's definitely some levels coming up, but I can't believe how much this is starting to turn over here, Mike. Like that's pretty telling. You know, we have Apple in the red here this much. Looks like Tesla is also kind of following Apple here to the downside. Microsoft, I'm sure, is down. Yep, Microsoft's down too. So definitely not good out of these big tech plays, Mike. And it looks like the SPY is also kind of tumbling off. So it looks like today the market might be in another bit of a pullback stage here. You know, I know yesterday was pretty explosive. So maybe today we're just going to consolidate a little bit. Who knows? Maybe it's also consolidating ahead of that FOMC minutes tomorrow, because I know sometimes that can definitely bring in some volatility.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. Raymond said day trade Win and LVS to the downside with a question mark. Tom, what do you think about these setups?
You know, I mean, it's not bad. It definitely exploded down today. The only thing I will say is, like in Win's case, it's already down like 3.4%. We did just break below, you know, the support at $80, but you know, we're already running down to like 79. I'm just not sure it's going to be a good entry at this point. Like, look at the 5-minute candles here. Like it could definitely continue lower, and it probably will for the next like maybe 30 minutes or something. But 1, 2, you know, like it's got like 10 red 5-minute candles this morning. Like that's pretty telling to the downside here. But at the same time, it's down so much that I'm just going to be worried about it. I will say though, Mike, like looking at like Win on the daily, it does look like it's starting to turn over a little bit. So I could maybe see it continue down for a couple of days, but I will say like I'm eventually hoping to see like Win and LVS eventually recover back up. So I'm hoping that they end up maybe holding up at like this support coming up, maybe around like 77 or like $76. I think that would make for some good movement if they held. But yeah, it's definitely having a lot of momentum to the downside today, Mike. But honestly, like with these stocks, I'm kind of buying them up for the longer term down here, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, there we go. Alrighty. Well, thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. Before we close out, I just want to personally thank all of you guys so much for joining. So shout out Lewis, George, Carlos, Hunter, Vicky, Keisha, Michael, Jerry, Sean, Dang, Alex, and let's see, Lou, B Square, Raymond, Ant, Sun, and I think that's everyone. So thank you guys so much for joining. Market's definitely trading a little bit lower right now, so be on the lookout for that, and definitely be prepared for a lot of volatility tomorrow with the FOMC minutes. Besides that, thank you guys so much for joining, and have a great rest of your day.